In 1987, Weller Court, a street in Little Tokyo, was renamed Astronaut Ellison S. Onizuka Street in remembrance of the Japanese-American astronaut who died in the 1986 Challenger spacecraft explosion. During the 1850s, competing stagecoaches often raced through Weller Street while transporting passengers from the San Pedro Harbor to their dusty destination at the Bella Union Hotel on Main Street.
In the heart of Los Angeles is Vigna Street, named for Jean-Louis Vignes from France. He came to California in 1831 and resided in Los Angeles until his death in 1862. He was the most important winemaker in the West, producing over 40,000 gallons a year, and is considered a pioneer of California viticulture. Pictured here about 1890 is Vignes's nephew Ferdinand and his family, who followed his uncle's footsteps and came to Los Angeles in 1843 and also established a vineyard. A short distance away is Arcadia Street, which was the property line of El Palacio de Don Abel, home to Abel Stearns and Maria Francisca Paula Arcadia Bandini. Arcadia Bandini, as she is commonly referred to in history books, was the daughter of Juan Bandini, a Peruvian-born Italian who arrived in California at the time of Mexico's struggle for independence with Spain. Arcadia accumulated land and wealth by inheritance and marriage. She and her second husband co-founded the city of Santa Monica. The city of Arcadia was named for her by its founder, Lucky Baldwin. She died in 1912.
Chavez Ravine Road originally extended to an area settled by a young New Mexican, Julian Chavez, who applied to the Mexican Granting Authority, the Ayuntamiento, for land rights in the 1840s. He served on the first American City Council, the first Board of Supervisors, and 2 subsequent terms as city councilman. Stadium Way supplanted the road by the time Dodger Stadium opened in 1962. Today, Chavez Ravine Place is the short path that remains. Nearby is Coronel Street, a reminder of the Coronel family who settled in Los Angeles in 1834, including the distinguished Californio Antonio Franco Coronel. He served as the Justice of the Peace in 1843. He became the first Mexican mayor of Los Angeles during the American era from 1853 to 1854 and was later the state treasurer. He died in 1894. Bellevue and Beaudry streets were major roads traversing through the property subdivided by the prolific French-Canadian land developer Prudent Beaudry and his brother Victor. Prudent Beaudry also became mayor. More about the 2 brothers later in this presentation. Downey Road runs less than a mile east outside the city limits, but across town in Lincoln Heights there was a time when Downey Avenue existed. The switch to North Broadway took away a city tribute to John Gately Downey, an influential Los Angeles resident who became California governor when the Civil War started. He had extensive land holdings that included Rancho Santa Gertrudis, and he was part of the town committee that pushed for a railroad between Los Angeles and San Francisco. Pictured is a public notice dated 1872 to promote the railroad. A major street in Lincoln Heights that has survived is Griffin Avenue and is attributed to Dr. John Griffin. Pictured is an 1873 tract map showing the land owned by Griffin and John Downey.
St. Vincent's Court, a narrow street tucked between buildings by 7th and Hill Streets, served as an entrance into St. Vincent's College from 1867 to 1887. The Catholic school was the first institution of higher learning in Southern California. This was formerly the site of Bullock's Department Store and is currently St. Vincent's Jewelry Center.
Pictured here is the school. The school is now known as Loyola Marymount University, located in the Westchester district of the city. The next group of streets, located west of downtown, came about from land settlements westward during the 1880s to the 1900s. Whitmer Street traverses up a hilly terrain once known as Crown Hill. Edward Doheny's famous 1892 discovery of oil occurred on a lot on West 2nd Street, sold to Doheny by Henry Clayton Whitmer, a Wisconsin transplant. The Board of Education purchased land on Crown Hill in 1923 to build Belmont High School. Carroll Avenue in the famed 1886 Angelino Heights tract was named for Carroll Stillson, a son of the developer William Wallace Stillson. Rampart Boulevard was a point in turn of the 20th century land development proceeding further west beyond Angelino Heights. In 1905, the Rampart Heights tract was reported to include the grading of Rampart Boulevard to run through the center of the subdivision and touted to exceed 120 feet wide. Nearby tracts included the Chateau Place, Occidental Park, and Commonwealth tracts. In the late 1890s, the population concentrated in Los Angeles, but settlements were also scattered in places like the Cahuenga Valley and the towns of Hollywood and Santa Monica. There was general interest by all to develop transportation links.
The demand for transportation prompted the development of Sunset Boulevard. Sunset first existed at two different places, heading westward from about Douglas Street in Angelino Heights, but also within the town of Hollywood.
The Sunset name might have been inspired by a failed real estate venture during the land boom of the 1880s called Sunset in what is now Holmby Hills. A promotional campaign called for a grand boulevard to form the main thoroughfare between Los Angeles and Santa Monica. Efforts to join the two roads culminated in 1904, although the successful link in Hollywood was through Prospect Avenue, later renamed Hollywood Boulevard. Shown here are travelers in 1909. Hollywood has continued a legacy of self-promotion. In the 1950s, the Hollywood Walk of Fame was created to celebrate movie history on the boulevard.
In another part of town, there is a remnant of early filmmaking. In Lincoln Heights, Selig Place is what remains of Selig Zoo, operated by the first West Coast film studio, Selig Polyscope Company. The street Trolleyway in Playa del Rey is a holdover of an early 20th century land venture called Palisades del Rey. The Pacific Electric Transportation Line had hoped to operate along the 1924 development via the street. Palisades del Rey, however, failed with the onset of the stock market crash in 1929. Land developer Fritz Burns was at the center of this doomed development. Olympiad Drive, which runs through Windsor Hills, was named in a 1937 subdivision to commemorate a temporary housing complex built nearby to accommodate the male athletes of the 1932 Los Angeles Olympics. Fritz Burns purchased some of the cottages after the games ended, then moved them to Palisades del Rey and renamed the property as Olympic Beach.